My name is Faith Thompson. I'm 34 years old. Last July, my dad stood in front of 25 people at our family reunion and asked each of his kids to share their life wins. My brother went first, VP of Engineering, six-figure salary. My sister followed, a surgical fellow at one of the top hospitals in the country. Then my dad looked at me with that same smile I'd known for 16 years and said, "Your turn, Faith. What do you have?" So I gave him one number, just one, and the entire table fell silent. My brother left before dessert. Before I take you back to that afternoon, if you end up liking this story, take a second to like and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy it. Also, drop a comment with where you're watching from and your local time. I always like seeing that. Now let me take you back to a Saturday morning in June, the week before the reunion, when I almost decided not to go at all. I'm standing on a job site in Columbus when my phone buzzes. It's Dad. "Family reunion," he says. "No hello." "No, how are you?" "July 19th. Your brother's flying in from Austin. Megan's driving up from Cleveland. I expect you there too." I wipe drywall dust off my arm and lean against my truck. "Okay. What time?" "Noon. Backyard. Donna's handling the food." Donna, his wife, not my mother. My mother died 3 years ago. "And Faith?" He pauses. "Wear something nice this time. Not your work boots." I glance down at my steel toes covered in concrete dust. I swallow the reply I want to give. "I'm planning something special," he adds. "A little sharing round. Everyone talks about where they are in life, what they've built." My stomach drops. I know exactly what that means. It means Derek will talk about his title. Megan will talk about her fellowship. And I'll sit there while Dad waits for me to explain why I still don't have a degree. After we hang up, I sit in my truck for a long time. There's a photo of my mom tucked behind the sun visor. Linda Thompson, brown eyes, big laugh. The kind of woman who remembered every neighbor's birthday. 3 years ago, on her last night in the hospital, she held my hand and said, "Don't let this family fall apart. Promise me, Faith." I promised. That promise is the only reason I still show up to these things. Not for Dad, not for Derek, for her. But a sharing round in front of the whole family, that's not a reunion. That's a courtroom. And Dad has already decided who the defendant is. Let me explain the pattern so you understand what I'm walking back into. Thanksgiving when I was 20. Dad introduces Derek to the neighbors. "This is my son Derek, the engineer, Stanford grad." Then he turns to me. "And this is Faith." She's figuring things out. I was a second-year apprentice electrician at the time. I had just earned my first safety certification. He didn't ask about it. Christmas when I was 25. Derek brings Dad a $200 watch. I bring a bookshelf I built by hand. Dovetail joints. Cherry wood. 40 hours of work. Dad puts it in the garage. I find it there 6 months later, still wrapped in the moving blanket I carried it in. Dad's 60th birthday. I bake his favorite German chocolate cake from Mom's recipe. Derek flies in with front-row concert tickets. Dad holds them up at dinner and says, "At least one of my kids knows how to treat their old man." My cake sits on the counter, half-eaten. 16 years of this. 16 Thanksgivings, Christmases, birthdays, and barbecues where Derek is the headline and I'm the footnote. After a while, you stop feeling hurt. You just go numb. You learn to take the corner seat, eat fast, and leave early. But this reunion is different. It's the first one since Mom passed. It's supposed to honor her memory. And Dad is turning it into a performance review. He isn't just going to compare us quietly this time. He's going to make it a show, microphone and all, in front of every aunt, uncle, cousin, and neighbor who ever watched me grow up. And I already know the script. I've been reading it for 16 years. That night, I call the one person who never made me feel like a footnote. Uncle Bill Morrison, my mom's older brother. a carpenter who runs his own shop in Zanesville, hands like leather, voice like gravel, and the only adult who ever looked at my apprenticeship papers and said, "Now that's something." He's the one who got me into the trade. When I was 18, fresh out of high school with no college plans and a father who wouldn't even look at me, Bill drove down, took me to a job site, and said, "You're good with your hands. Let's see how good." Should I go? I ask him now. Your mama wanted you there, so you go. He pauses. But Faith, you don't owe that man your dignity. I tell him about the sharing round. He's quiet for a moment. You know what you've built, kid? I've seen the books. 6 units, 0 debt. That's more than most people twice your age. He won't care, Bill. Maybe not. But the numbers don't lie. Let your work speak. Then he adds something that sticks. I heard something about Derek, by the way. His wife posted on Facebook about financial stress. Deleted it quick. But Gary, you remember Gary? Used to work at Derek's company. He saw it. Said Derek got passed over for SVP twice. I sit with that for a moment. Also, Bill adds, word is the Austin house might be listed. Listed. Either he's selling or someone's selling it for him. I don't know. I don't know what to do with that yet. It's just a rumor, but it settles in the back of my mind like a stone at the bottom of a well. Drive safe on the 19th, kid. Your mama would be proud. The night before the reunion, I sit in my truck in the driveway. Engine off, windows down, crickets loud in the dark. On the passenger seat, there's a manila folder. Inside is my quarterly financial summary from Grace Fielding, my accountant, my friend since trade school, and the only person besides Uncle Bill who knows the full picture. She updates it every quarter like clockwork. Assets, liabilities, net cash flow, total equity. I flip it open. The number at the bottom hasn't changed since last week, but tonight it feels different. Tonight it feels like armor. I close the folder and slide it back under the seat. I think about not going. I think about texting Dad an excuse. Stomach flu, emergency call-out, truck broke down. He wouldn't question it. He barely expects me to show up anyway. But then I think about what happens if I don't. Dad tells everyone, Faith didn't even come. See, that's Faith. And the story continues. The footnote gets smaller. And if I do go and sit there in silence while Derek brags and Dad beams, same story, different angle. I look at the photo of Mom on my dashboard. It's from a 4th of July, maybe 2012. She's laughing, holding a sparkler, standing in the same backyard where tomorrow's reunion will be. I'm going, I say out loud. Not for him, for you. I don't bring the folder. I leave it under the seat. But the number is in my head, etched there like a license plate you memorize without trying. $1.2 million. I pull the keys out of the ignition and head inside. I don't know yet what Dad has planned for that sharing round. If I did, I might have brought the paperwork. Saturday at noon, a 2-hour drive from Columbus to the old house. I pull up and park on the grass next to a line of SUVs and sedans. The house looks good. Fresh paint, new gutters, porch rail replaced. Someone spent real money on this place. The time I figured Dad finally dipped into savings. The backyard is full. 25, maybe 30 people, folding tables pushed together under a rented canopy. Coolers, a Bluetooth speaker playing old country, paper plates, red cups, and a catering tray of pulled pork. I recognize most of the faces. Aunt Carol, Uncle Pete, cousins I haven't seen in years. Mrs. Johnson from across the street who's known me since I was in diapers. Mr. Martinez from 2 doors down, a retired banker always in a polo. And there by the back steps is a whiteboard on an easel, written in blue marker, Thompson Family Life Wins Round. My chest tightens. Dad sees me from the porch. He's holding a beer in one hand and a plate in the other. He walks over, doesn't hug me. Oh, you actually came. Good. Hi, Dad. He looks me over from head to toe. Clean jeans, a simple blouse, hair tied back, no jewelry, no heels. Where's your friend? You seeing anyone? No, Dad. He just nods and turns away toward the crowd. Donna's inside if you want to say hello. Donna meets me in the kitchen. She hugs me the way you hug a coworker at a company picnic, quick, one arm, no eye contact. There's sweet tea on the counter, she says, already walking off. I pour myself a glass and stand by the window, staring out at the whiteboard. Life wins round. 16 years of losing, and now there's a scoreboard. Derek shows up 40 minutes late, which is still earlier than I expected. Tesla rolls in slow like it wants an audience. Midnight blue, chrome wheels, the license plate frame bragging about Austin tech life. Derek steps out, fitted vest, designer sneakers, aviators pushed up into his hair like he just walked off a catalog shoot. His wife Kelsey follows, oversized sunglasses, designer bag, heels sinking into the grass. Their 2 kids spill out of the back wearing matching Ralph Lauren polos. Dad practically jogs across the yard. There he is. He grabs Derek by the shoulders. Everyone, this is my son Derek, VP of Engineering out in Austin. We're very proud, he says. Very proud, the way a man hammers a nail so it sticks. Derek makes his rounds, handshakes, back slaps, tossing out "good to see you, brother" to cousins he hasn't called in years. Then he spots me by the cooler. Hey sis, still driving that old Ford? Runs fine. Sure it does. He grins and moves on. I stand there holding my sweet tea, watching him work the crowd like a campaign stop. VP Derek. Golden Boy Derek, the one who made it. Then I catch something small. Kelsey walks over to pay the caterer, the barbecue guy parked by the driveway. She hands him a card. He swipes it, frowns, tries again. Kelsey's jaw tightens. She digs through her wallet and pulls out another card. This one goes through. Nobody else seems to notice. But I do. A few minutes later, Megan finds me. She pulls me into a real hug. I'm glad you're here, she whispers. Me too. Then Dad calls her from across the yard and she pulls back. I should go say hi. She always should. I'm sitting in the corner chair when it happens, the moment I stop treating this reunion like something I just have to survive. Aunt Carol asks what I've been up to. I tell her, I run a contracting company, licensed electrical work, mostly residential. She nods slowly. Oh, that's practical. I let it slide. I've been letting things slide for 16 years. Then I hear it. Derek's son, Tyler, 7 years old, blonde hair, gap-toothed, tugs on Derek's sleeve near the dessert table. Daddy, what does Aunt Faith do? Derek doesn't even look at me. She fixes things, buddy. Like a handyman. Tyler wrinkles his nose. Oh, not a real job. Derek laughs, short and easy, the kind that says exactly. My hands go still in my lap. It's not the words, I've heard worse from Derek. It's the audience. A 7-year-old just learned that what I do isn't worth respecting, and he learned it from his father in front of everyone. That's the part people don't understand about patterns like this. The damage isn't just what they say to you, it's what they teach the next generation about you. If I sit here and smile through this reunion, Tyler grows up knowing Aunt Faith as the joke, and his little sister after him. And then their kids. The story doesn't end with dessert, it gets passed down. I look across the yard at the whiteboard. Life wins round. Then I look at my dad, clinking beers with Derek near the grill, both of them laughing, both of them comfortable. And for the first time today, I think maybe I didn't come here just to keep a promise. Dad taps his glass with a spoon and the crowd quiets down. All right, everyone, it's time. He grabs the old karaoke mic from the patio shelf, the one we used at Mom's birthday parties, and taps it twice. A dull thud echoes through the speaker. Your mother, God rest her soul, always wanted us together. So today, each of my kids is going to share their life wins, where they are, what they've built. He lifts his beer. Derek, you're up. Derek stands like he's practiced this. He buttons his vest and steps forward. Well, first off, I'm proud to be a Thompson. A few claps. I'm currently VP of Engineering at a SaaS company in Austin. I lead a team of 40. My compensation package is in the mid-six figures. Aunt Carol gasps softly. Oh my! We bought a boat last summer. Kids are in private school. Life is good. More clapping. Mr. Martinez nods slowly with his arms crossed. Dad is glowing like he's watching his team score the winning touchdown. And most importantly, Derek says, turning to look straight at Dad, I was able to help Mom and Dad keep this house a few years back. Family takes care of family. He sits down. Dad squeezes his shoulder. I watch from the corner. Derek said compensation package. He didn't say net worth. He didn't say savings. He said package, which includes stock options that could be underwater, bonuses taxed nearly in half, and a salary that disappears the moment the company restructures. I know the difference because Grace taught me. Most people don't. Family takes care of family. That line hangs in the air, aimed straight at me like a dart. Translation: Derek helped, Faith didn't. What nobody here knows is why. Megan goes next. She's always been quieter than Derek. She stands but doesn't take the mic. I'm in my surgical fellowship at Cleveland Clinic, she says, hands clasped. I published 2 papers this year and I'm applying for attending positions in the fall. Dad's eyes shine. My little girl, a surgeon. Can you believe it? The applause is warm. People lean in and whisper things like, so impressive, and your parents must be so proud. Megan sits down. For a second, she glances at me across the table. I see it, a flicker of something, guilt maybe, or sympathy. Whatever it is, she swallows it quickly and looks back at her plate. She knows what's coming. She knows I'm the last one in this little showcase, and she didn't say a word to stop it. Behind me, I hear Mrs. Johnson whisper to Aunt Carol, and what about Faith? Is she still single? Aunt Carol replies, I think she does something with wiring. I tighten my grip on my cup until the plastic creaks. 25 people, that's how many are sitting in this backyard right now. 25 people about to watch my father put me on display like a project that didn't turn out right. 25 people who already think they know the answer. Dad holds the mic again. He turns to me. He's smiling, but it's not warm. It's the smile of someone about to prove a point. Then he says my name. Faith. The yard goes quieter. Forks pause. Conversations fade. Your turn, sweetheart. Tell everyone about your wins. I don't stand. I stay in the corner chair, hands wrapped around my cup. I'm good, Dad. I'll pass. He chuckles. Come on, everyone else went. Don't be shy. I look at him. 16 years of instinct tell me to smile, brush it off, say something safe like just working hard and let the moment pass. That's the routine. That's how I've survived these things. Then Derek leans back in his chair and grins. Yeah, Faith, tell us what's new in the light switch business. A ripple of laughter spreads, not everyone, but enough. Enough for me to hear it. Enough for Tyler to look up from his plate and giggle. Dad jumps back in. Seriously, honey, we want to hear. What are you doing with your life? I scan the faces watching me. Mr. Martinez with his arms crossed. Mrs. Johnson frozen mid-bite. Aunt Carol leaning forward. Megan staring down. Uncle Bill by the grill, jaw tight. 25 people waiting. I open my mouth, then close it again. Dad tilts his head, his voice softening into that tone he thinks sounds kind but feels like pity. It's okay if you don't have anything, Faith. We understand. Not everyone, he doesn't finish this sentence. He doesn't need to. The meaning hangs in the air like smoke. Not everyone makes it. And in my head, I hear Uncle Bill's voice clear as ever. You don't owe that man your dignity. I hear Tyler's voice. Not a real job. I hear my mother's voice. Don't let anyone make you feel small. And somewhere beneath all of it, I hear my own voice, the one I've been holding back for 16 years. That's when I speak. I stand up. I don't reach for the mic. You want to know my wins, Dad? He blinks. The yard goes still. Fine. I keep my tone steady, the same voice I use on job sites when I'm giving instructions. Clear, controlled, no shaking. I own a licensed contracting company. I employ 4 people full-time. I own 6 rental properties across Franklin County, free and clear. I pause, let it settle. I have 0 debt, no mortgage, no student loans, no credit card balance, nothing. Someone coughs. A glass taps lightly against a table. My net worth as of last quarter is $1.2 million. Silence. Not the kind where people are thinking, the kind where the air shifts. Like something cracked open and everyone felt it, but no one knows what to say. Country music keeps playing through the Bluetooth speaker. Somewhere down the street, a kid laughs. A dog barks twice, and 25 people stare at me like I just spoke a language they don't understand. Dad's mouth opens, closes, then opens again. What? 1.2 million. I set my cup down on the armrest. You asked. Nobody claps. Nobody says congratulations. That's how I know it's real. Because if I'd said something small, they would have smiled and moved on. But a number like that from the daughter they all wrote off, that doesn't get applause. That gets silence. Kind that rewrites a room. Derek's chair scrapes hard against the concrete. Kelsey's hand presses flat on the table, her knuckles pale. Uncle Bill takes a slow sip of his beer and says nothing. He doesn't have to. And Dad just stands there, mic in hand, with nothing to say for the first time in 16 years. I know what you might be thinking right now, because I was thinking it too when I stood there. Why didn't I say this sooner? Truth is, I never wanted to prove anything to anyone. But sometimes people push you into a corner and the only way out is the truth. If you've ever been the one your family underestimated, the one they laughed about when you weren't in the room, hit that subscribe button. Not for me, for every person who's been where I was standing. Now let me tell you what happened next, because my brother didn't take it well. Derek is the first to move. He stands so fast his chair catches on a crack in the patio and tips sideways behind him. He doesn't even look back. That's ridiculous. His voice is louder than it needs to be. There's no way. Dad turns to me, still gripping the mic. Faith, is that true? Yes. Derek steps closer. Doing what? Fixing wiring? You don't even have a degree. I look at him the way I'd look at a junction box wired wrong, patient, maybe a little pity. Real estate, contracting, and 16 years of not spending money I didn't have. Kelsey's gaze drops to the table. Her fingers tighten around her phone beneath the edge of her plate. Derek shakes his head. Anyone can throw numbers around at a barbecue, Faith. That doesn't make it real. And then Uncle Bill's voice cuts through from the far end of the table. She's not lying, Derek. Derek turns. Bill leans against the porch rail, arms crossed, a look on his face like he's been waiting for this moment. I've known that girl since the day she was born. I got her into her first apprenticeship. I've seen what she's built. His voice stays calm. It doesn't need to rise. She's not lying. Derek's jaw tightens. He looks at Dad, then at me, then back at Dad like he's waiting for someone to take his side. But Dad says nothing. For the first time in 16 years, Ray Thompson has no script. Derek grabs his beer. Not everyone needs to wave their bank account around. I hear the tone in it, defensive, strained, like a man afraid someone might ask him the same question. The yard breaks into side conversations. No one's eating anymore. People lean in, whispering behind cups. I sit back down. Uncle Bill walks over and drops into the chair beside me. His knee pops and he doesn't react. You did good, kid. He's going to tell everyone I'm lying. Let him try. Bill takes a sip. I talked to Gary last month. You remember Gary? Used to work at Derek's company. Vaguely. Gary said Derek got passed over for SVP twice. Restructuring hit, half his team got laid off in January and he barely kept his job. Bill lowers his voice. And that house in Austin, it's listed. Listed. Been listed for 3 weeks. For sale. More like the bank ran out of patience. I stare down at the table. The whiteboard behind Dad still reads Life Wins Round. I'm not going to use that, I say. Nobody said you had to. But when a man stands in front of his family and calls you a liar, it helps to know where he stands. I nod. I don't want to fight Derek. I never have. I just wanted to eat pulled pork and go home. But here we are. Across the yard, Derek is talking to Aunt Carol. His hands move fast, the way they do when he's selling something. Carol nods, but her eyes drift toward me more than once. Megan catches my eye from the dessert table. She mouths something I can't make out, then looks away. And Dad, he's standing by the whiteboard, arms at his sides, beer untouched, looking like a man whose teleprompter just went blank mid-speech. I'm about to see what he does without a script. He finds me near the cooler about 10 minutes later. He doesn't pull me aside gently. He grips my elbow and steers me like redirecting a dog that wandered too far. A few people are close enough to hear, and he doesn't seem to care. I don't know what game you're playing, he says, voice low but sharp, but you embarrassed your brother in front of everyone. He embarrassed me for 16 years, Dad. That's different. He was trying to motivate you. I stare at him. Motivate me? He told me I'd end up homeless at Christmas dinner in front of the whole family. Because we were worried. He sets his jaw. A father worries. A father doesn't humiliate his daughter in front of 25 people for sport. He blinks. I've never spoken to him like this, not once in 16 years of swallowed words and early exits and silent drives home. He recovers quickly, too quickly. Your mother would be ashamed of you right now. The words hit like a slap. A few heads turn. Mrs. Johnson's mouth parts slightly. Across the yard, Uncle Bill goes completely still. Dad plays his final card, the one he always saves. The dead mother card, the one that says he speaks for her now. I feel heat rise in my chest, my throat tightening, my eyes stinging. Every instinct tells me to walk away, apologize, smooth it over, keep the peace. I look at the photo on my phone's lock screen. Mom on the 4th of July, sparkler in her hand, laughing. And I decide right there I'm done keeping the peace at the cost of losing myself. I don't raise my voice. Mom would not be ashamed of me. Dad's mouth twitches. Mom was proud of me every single day. She told me that on her last night. The yard falls silent. 25 people, and the only sound is low country music drifting from the speaker. You want to know what she said? I continue. She said, Faith, you're the strongest one. Don't let anyone make you feel small. Dad's face shifts. For a second, something cracks beneath the anger, then it closes again. But I'm not finished. I didn't come here to brag. I came because Mom asked me to keep this family together. But I can't do that by pretending to be less than I am. I can feel Uncle Bill watching, Mrs. Johnson, Mr. Martinez, every face turned toward me. And for once, I don't flinch. You asked for my wins, Dad. I gave you my wins. And instead of being proud, you told me to apologize. My voice stays steady. I've practiced this sentence in my truck for 3 years on long drives home, saying it to the windshield, never thinking I'd say it to his face. I'm done apologizing for being good at something you don't understand. I set my cup down on the table and stand straight. I'm done. No one says a word. Derek is frozen in his chair, his hand wrapped around a beer he hasn't touched in 5 minutes. Kelsey's eyes are red. Mr. Martinez slowly uncrosses his arms like he just witnessed something he didn't expect. Uncle Bill rises from his seat without a word, standing firm like a fence post, making it clear which side of the yard he's on. Then Megan's voice, small and tight, breaks through the silence. Faith, wait. But I'm already turning away. I don't even make it to the driveway. Behind me, Derek's voice fills the yard again, louder now, standing up, performing for the crowd the way he always does when he feels himself slipping. You know what, everyone? My sister, the one without a college degree, just told us she's worth $1 million doing electrical work. He says electrical work like someone saying magic beans. You want to know what that really means? She probably counts the value of some rundown rental she bought cheap. That's not real wealth. That's playing landlord. A few people shift in their chairs. Uncle Bill's jaw tightens. I stop walking, but I don't turn around. Real success is building something, leading teams, making decisions that move the needle, not collecting rent checks. Dad nods. Derek has a point. Then a voice I don't expect cuts through. Mrs. Johnson, 72 years old, barely 5 feet tall and afraid of nobody. I don't know about all that, Ray, but that girl replaced my entire electrical panel last year. Did it in one day. My last electrician wanted 3 times what she charged. She folds her arms. She's honest. She shows up on time. That counts for something. A few heads nod. Mr. Martinez adds quietly, 6 properties free and clear in this economy, that's not playing anything. Crowd starts to split. I can feel it without even turning around. The slow crack of a room realizing the story they've been told doesn't match the person standing in front of them. Then Kelsey's phone buzzes. She looks at it, and her face, the carefully put-together face, just falls apart. Derek, she says softly, stop. He turns. What? Just stop talking about money, please. She's shaking. Derek looks at her, then at me, then at the yard full of people now staring at both of them. Kelsey stands, grabs her purse, and walks into the house without looking at anyone. The screen door slams behind her. No one follows. Derek sits down slowly, like a man who just realized the ground beneath him isn't solid. Dad clears his throat. His hand is still resting on Derek's shoulder like a coach trying to steady a player. Let's take a breath, everyone. He pauses. Faith, I think you owe your brother an apology. I turn around now, standing about 10 feet from the table, facing all of them. For what? For making this about money. This was supposed to be about family. You made it about money, Dad. You set up the sharing round. You wrote it on a whiteboard. He stiffens. I set it up to celebrate your brother and sister's achievements, not for you to brag. The word lands differently coming from a man who just spent 15 minutes praising his son's 6-figure salary in front of the whole neighborhood. Brag, I say. You asked me a question. I answered it. Dad steps closer, lowering his voice, but not enough. Your mother would be ashamed of you right now. He says it again. The same weapon, the same line. Uncle Bill moves. He steps out from behind the grill, wipes his hands on a rag, and says loud enough for everyone to hear, Ray! Linda told Faith she was the strongest one in this family on her last night alive. I was there when she said it. He pauses. So don't you dare tell that girl what her mother would think. Dad's face goes pale. I've never seen anyone take control of the moment away from him like that, and neither has he. The yard goes quiet enough to hear ice shifting in the cooler. I step closer to the table, not to sit, but to finish. Dad, I'm going to say this once. He looks at me, his face tight, like he just heard something he can't process. I didn't come here to embarrass anyone. I came because Mom asked me to keep this family together. I pause. But I can't do that by pretending I haven't built anything. You asked for my wins. I gave you my wins. You could have been proud. You chose to be angry. I hold his gaze. If you want me in this family, you treat me the same way you treat Derek. Same respect, same pride, or I'm done. He opens his mouth. I'm not finished. Closes it. I don't need your money. I don't need your approval. But I would like my father back, the one who taught me how to use a screwdriver when I was 6. That man wouldn't have done this to me. Dad's eyes drop. He stares at the ground like he's searching for something he lost. I pick up my keys from the table. I love you, Dad, but love doesn't mean I have to sit here and be your punchline. I turn and walk toward the driveway. Uncle Bill walks beside me, silent, steady. Behind me, I hear Megan's chair scrape. Faith, wait, please. I stop and look back. Megan is standing there, napkin crumpled in her hand, tears on her face. I'm sorry, she says. I should have said something years ago. Yeah, I reply quietly. You should have. But I don't leave, not yet. 'Cause Megan is crying and I made a promise to my mother. I want to pause here for a second because what I said to my dad, I'm done apologizing. I practiced that sentence in my truck for 3 years. 3 years. I never thought I'd actually say it out loud. If you're someone who has a sentence like that, something you've been holding in, I want you to share it in the comments. You don't have to use real names, just write it down because sometimes seeing it in words is the first step to saying it out loud. Now let me tell you what happened after I stepped away from that table. Something inside the yard shifts. I can feel it before I even see it. Uncle Bill had turned back toward the table before following me out. He stood there, hands in his pockets, speaking to the group like he was giving testimony. Ray, I've known that girl since the day she was born. I introduced her to the trade when she was 18. I've seen her tax returns. He doesn't hesitate. She's telling the truth. Mr. Martinez, retired banker, 40 years in lending, leans forward. Wait, 6 rental properties, free and clear in Franklin County? He removes his glasses and wipes them like someone recalculating everything they thought they knew. In this market, that's serious equity. Mrs. Johnson adds, she rewired my whole house. Didn't cut corners. Charged fair. Finished early. She looks straight at Dad. That girl's the real deal, Ray. I hear all of this from the edge of the driveway where Megan has followed me. The murmurs aren't judgmental anymore, they're curious. People are doing the math, asking questions, glancing at the whiteboard, realizing maybe the scoreboard was wrong from the start. Dad is still standing by the grill, hands at his sides, beer untouched. He's watching everything shift and he doesn't know how to stop it. Started as his show, the sharing round, the whiteboard, the mic. He built the stage, and now he's stuck on it while the audience rewrites the script. Derek hasn't moved from his chair. His vest is unbuttoned now. His face is pale. His phone lies face down on the table, untouched since Kelsey walked inside. The golden boy sits still, and no one is applauding anymore. The screen door creaks open. Kelsey steps back out, sunglasses gone, mascara smudged. She walks straight to Derek, leans down, and speaks in a voice she probably thinks is quiet, but it carries. The bank called. They're moving forward with the short sale. Derek grabs her arm. Not here, Kelsey. Then when? You've been hiding this for 6 months. 3 people at the end of the table hear every word, Mr. Martinez, Aunt Carol, Uncle Pete, and their faces shift in that way people's faces do when they hear something they weren't supposed to hear. A tense silence settles in, followed by slow, sideways glances passing between people. Derek pushes himself up, guiding Kelsey toward the house, but the damage has already begun to spread. I can see it ripple across the yard in real time. A whisper reaches Aunt Carol, who leans toward the cousin beside her, who then turns to Mrs. Johnson. Short sale on the Austin house. Didn't he just buy a boat? Isn't he a VP? Mr. Martinez removes his glasses again, but this time he doesn't clean them. He just stares at the empty chair Derek left behind. Dad hears at last, which feels almost fitting after spending the entire afternoon acting like he understood everything about his children. Something shifts in his face, something I've never seen before. Confidence drains out of him like water leaking through a cracked pipe, leaving behind something raw and uncertain. A man realizing the trophy case he built is made of cardboard. VP of engineering, mid-6-figure pay, Tesla, boat, private school, and a house the bank is reclaiming. I don't say anything. I don't need to. The yard is doing the math on its own. Some numbers reveal truth, others just tell a story. Megan lowers herself beside me on the curb near my truck, hugging her knees, resting her chin on her arms. I should have said something years ago, she murmurs. You didn't. I know. She keeps her eyes on the pavement. I was scared. Dad would have turned on me too. I don't argue because she's right. We sit there in silence for a while. Inside the yard, the gathering is unraveling. Guests begin drifting toward their cars, carrying leftover barbecue and conversations they'll finish on the drive home. Faith. Megan's voice softens. I owe $380,000 in student loans. I turn to her and she's completely serious. Her eyes are steady, exhausted, and honest. I won't break even until I'm 45, maybe 50. A surgeon, Cleveland Clinic fellowship, and still buried in debt. Derek and I, she says, we look successful. That's the whole illusion. We play the part, but we're drowning. She pauses. You're the only one of us who isn't. I sit with that. There's more, she adds. Dad borrowed $80,000 from Derek 3 years ago when the house nearly went into foreclosure. $80,000? Derek took out a personal loan for it. Dad called it a family investment, said he'd pay it back. She looks at me. He never paid a cent. So that's the truth behind the fresh paint and new gutters, $80,000 of Derek's debt hanging over the house like a second mortgage. Mom knew, Megan says quietly. About your business, about everything you were building. She once told me Faith is going to be fine. She's the only one who doesn't wait for permission to begin. I press my hand against the warm pavement and breathe. Megan and I walk back into the yard together, not linked, just side by side, and that's enough. Crowd has thinned to maybe 15 people. Cousins are gone. What's left is the core, neighbors, aunts, uncles, the ones who've watched this family for years and always sensed the story wasn't as solid as it looked. Mr. Martinez stands near the dessert table, notices me, and walks over without hesitation. Faith, I spent 30 years in commercial lending. I've seen portfolios from people twice your age that aren't half this strong. He rests a hand on my shoulder. 6 properties, no debt in this market. You should be proud. Mrs. Johnson joins him. She's honest, never overcharged me once, always showed up when she said she would. She takes my hand. Your mama raised you right, honey. I nod because my voice won't hold steady. Dad sits alone at the head of the table while Donna moves around him, stacking plates, folding tablecloths. He doesn't help. He just sits there, hands flat, staring at the whiteboard that says life wins round. The irony feels heavy enough to spread like butter. Donna passes me on her way inside, pauses, and looks at me differently, not warmth exactly, but something like recognition, as if she's seeing me clearly for the first time. I didn't know Faith, she says quietly. He never told me any of it. How hard you've worked, what you've built. She shakes her head. I'm sorry. Then she goes inside. I look around at the half-empty yard, paper plates tossed away, streamers curling in the evening air. My phone buzzes. It's Grace. Quarterly update finalized. Also, congrats on closing your 7th property next week. 7th. And no one here knew about any of them. I slip my phone back into my pocket and walk toward the table. Dad is still sitting there, the mic beside his plate, the whiteboard behind him, the stage he built now nearly empty. Dad. He doesn't look up. I'm only going to say this once. He lifts his head slowly. His eyes are bloodshot and he looks 10 years older than he did just hours ago. I didn't come here to embarrass anyone. I came because Mom asked me to. But I'm not coming back to a table where my success is treated like a problem and my brother's like a celebration. He starts to speak. Let me finish. He stops. If you want me in this family, you treat me the same way you treat Derek. Same respect, same pride, every holiday, every call, or I'm done. My voice stays steady. This isn't anger, it's a boundary, clear and unshakable. I don't need your money or your approval, but I want my father back, the one who taught me to use a screwdriver when I was 6, the one who carried me on his shoulders at the fair. That man was kind. That man wouldn't have done this. Dad's chin trembles once before he locks it still. I pick up my keys. I love you, but love doesn't mean I sit here and shrink so your version of the story stays intact. I turn toward the driveway. Behind me, I hear him say my name, barely audible. I stop, but I don't turn around. I heard you, Dad. And I keep walking. 5 minutes later, Derek steps out of the house with Kelsey beside him, her bag on her shoulder, sunglasses back on even though the sun is fading. They don't stop. They head straight for the Tesla. His tie is loose, sleeves rolled, looking less like someone leaving a barbecue and more like someone walking out of a deposition. Dad calls from the porch. Derek, wait. Derek pauses, turns halfway. Don't, Dad. Just don't. His eyes find me by my truck. There's no anger there, no arrogance, just exhaustion, the kind that comes when something you've been holding up finally becomes too heavy. You win, Faith. I shake my head. This was never a competition. He holds my gaze for a few seconds, then something in his expression softens before he turns away. Tesla pulls out quietly, no wave, no goodbye, just tail lights fading into the distance. Dad stands on the porch watching until it disappears. I watch him too, really seeing him for the first time. Not the authority figure, not the judge, just a 62-year-old man standing on a porch he almost lost, in a house his son paid for, watching his family drift apart. He looks older than I've ever seen him. I almost feel something, not forgiveness, not yet, but something close to the ache of seeing something once beautiful left to decay. Didn't have to end this way, but it did. The last guests leave quietly, no loud goodbyes, just nods and handshakes. A few stop by my truck. Mr. Martinez hands me his card. If you ever need a reference for commercial lending, call me. I mean that. I thank him. Mrs. Johnson pulls me into a real hug, the kind that lingers. Your mama raised you right, honey. Don't forget that. Uncle Bill comes over and rests his hand on my shoulder. You kept your promise, he says. You showed up and told the truth. Linda would have been proud. I nod, my throat tight. Megan walks over last. She holds onto me longer than anyone else does. When she finally pulls away, her mascara is smeared across her cheeks. Can I call you next week? She asks. I mean it this time. Yeah, call me. She squeezes my hand before heading to her car. The yard is almost empty now. Donna folds the last tablecloth while Dad sits at the head of the table, staring at a paper plate he hasn't touched. The whiteboard still stands behind him, the words "Life wins" round fading into the evening like a joke that never landed. I climb into my truck and turn the key. The engine stutters once before settling, just like it always does. Before pulling away, I glance at the house one last time. White siding, porch light glowing, the window where my old bedroom used to be. This is where I learned to ride a bike, where Mom taught me to bake, where Dad used to carry me on his shoulders. I drive off without looking back. I thought that was the end of it, but it wasn't. The week after the reunion unfolds like a line of dominoes no one realized had been set up. Derek and Kelsey's Austin house goes into a short sale, closing at $187,000 below what they paid. His equity disappears overnight. They move into a small 2-bedroom apartment in Round Rock while trying to figure out their next steps. At work, Derek gets restructured. VP turns into senior director. Same office, but the title shrinks along with the bonus. His LinkedIn still says VP, but the people who matter already know the truth. Back in town, the reunion becomes the only thing anyone talks about. Thompson's, the electrician daughter, the VP losing his house, the father who built a scoreboard and got outscored by the one he underestimated. I hear about it through Uncle Bill, through Mrs. Johnson, even through a client while I'm rewiring an attic. You're that Thompson girl, right? Yeah, I heard about that. 3 new contracts land in my lap that same week, all word of mouth from people connected to the reunion story. Megan calls me one Wednesday night. We talk for 2 hours, the longest real conversation we've had in 5 years. She cries. I don't, but it's close. Can you connect me with your accountant? She asks. Grace, right? I need a real plan. I tell her I'll set it up. Thank you, Faith. Don't thank me, just show up. Dad doesn't call or text. 3 full weeks of silence settle in, thick like snow covering everything. I don't chase it. I spent 16 years chasing his approval, and it only earned me a seat in the corner of his show. If he wants to talk, he knows my number. It hasn't changed in over a decade. 3 weeks and 2 days later, my phone rings on a Tuesday evening while I'm driving back from a job in Westerville. It's Dad. I answer on the 4th ring. Faith. His voice sounds smaller, like something's been drained out of it. I need to talk to you. I'm listening. There's a pause, the kind where someone is carefully choosing their words. I didn't know about Derek's house or Megan's loans. He exhales slowly. I thought they were doing fine. I keep my focus on the road. And I didn't know about you either. I mean, I knew you worked hard, but I didn't think someone without he trails off. Without a degree, I finish for him. Yeah. Another pause. I think that's what I believed, that a degree was the only way to succeed because it was something I never had. For the first time, I hear the truth underneath it, the quiet insecurity of a man who built his beliefs around what he lacked. It doesn't excuse anything, but I understand it. Your mother told me, he says, his voice cracking before she passed. She said, Faith is going to surprise you one day, don't miss it. He takes a breath. I missed it. I missed all of it. I want to tell him it's okay, but it isn't, not yet. I'm glad you called, Dad, but words won't fix 16 years. We need time. He stays quiet for a moment before saying, okay, that's fair. I end the call at a red light and sit there as it turns green twice before moving again. 2 months later, I open my laptop and find an email from Derek. No subject, just words. I read it standing at the counter while my coffee goes cold. Faith, I know I've treated you badly for years. I don't expect forgiveness, but I want you to know I was jealous. Jealous because you did things your way and it worked, while I followed every rule and still ended up drowning. I read it again, then again. Jealous. My brother, the Stanford grad, the VP, the one Dad always praised first, jealous of me. He writes about chasing expectations, building a life that was never really his, and now sitting in a small apartment with everything falling apart. I close the laptop and stare out the window at the yard I mowed myself, the garage I turned into an office. I don't respond right away. On the 3rd day, I finally type back. Thank you for being honest. I'm not ready to rebuild things yet, but I don't hate you. When you're ready to really talk, I'll be here. I send it and get back to work. 20 minutes later, my phone buzzes. Thank you. Just 2 words, but for the first time in years, they're real. 6 months pass. By October, I close on property number 8, a duplex in Reynoldsburg that needs a full kitchen gut and a new panel, exactly the kind of project I enjoy. I hire a 5th employee, a quiet 22-year-old named Marco who reminds me of myself when I started. Megan calls every Sunday now. We talk about her residency, her debt plan, her awful landlord. Grace helped her build a 12-year payoff schedule, aggressive but manageable, and she's already ahead. One night she tells me she sold her Audi and leased a Civic instead. How does it feel? I ask. Lighter, she says. Derek and I still don't talk directly, but on Christmas Eve a handwritten card arrives. Thinking of you, sis. Derek. No title, no performance, just 5 honest words. I stick it on my fridge. Then there's Dad. He calls in November and asks if I want to meet for dinner, just the 2 of us. No audience. Where? I ask. That diner off Route 40, the one your mom liked. I almost say no, but then I hear Mom's voice in my head telling me not to let the family fall apart. Saturday at 6, I tell him. I hang up and stand there for a moment before opening my closet and picking out a clean pair of work boots, not to impress anyone but because I'm walking in as myself, and that's enough. The diner hasn't changed in decades. Vinyl booths, a pie case near the register, coffee that tastes like it's been sitting for days. Dad is already there when I arrive. He stands up, pulls out a chair for me. For once, it doesn't feel like a setup. "You look good, Faith." "Thanks, Dad." We order meatloaf for him, turkey melt for me. We avoid the reunion at first. Then he surprises me. "Tell me about your properties." So I do. I tell him about the first one, a foreclosure I bought at 28 for $62,000 cash, how I rewired it myself, fixed the plumbing with Bill, and had a tenant within 3 weeks paying rent. He listens, really listens, without interrupting or comparing. When I finish, he sets his fork down. "Your mother was right about you. She was right about a lot of things." He nods slowly, staring at his plate. "I can't undo what I did, Faith." "I know that." "No, you can't. But can I try to be better?" I look at him across the table, this man who hurt me for 16 years, who built a scoreboard and kept me at the bottom, and yet he's also the one who taught me how to hold a screwdriver, who drove me to my first day of school, who stood in the rain at Mom's funeral and never let go of my hand. "You can try, but Dad, if you start comparing us again, I will walk away and I won't come back." He nods slowly. "That's fair." Out in the parking lot, he glances at my truck but doesn't comment. "Drive safe, kid." "You too, Dad." I take the long way home, 2 hours of dark highway with the windows cracked, the kind of silence you only find between small towns late at night. I think about the past year. I spent 16 years believing that if I worked hard enough, they would finally see me. They didn't, not because I wasn't visible, but because the version of me they believed in was easier than the truth. My dad needed someone to fall short to justify his worldview. My brother needed someone beneath him to feel taller. And I let them. For 16 years, I accepted a role I never chose. The moment I stopped chasing their approval was the moment I started building something real. I'm not stable because I'm smarter than Derek or Megan. I'm stable because I stayed within my limits, invested in what I understood with my own hands, and never spent money trying to impress people who didn't respect me. The fancy car, the big title, the boat, the private school, those things cost money, but they also cost something harder to measure, the freedom to say no. Derek couldn't say no to Dad, couldn't say no to the lifestyle, couldn't say no to the scoreboard, and now he's starting over at 37 in a 2-bedroom apartment. I pull into my driveway, shut off the engine, and sit there. My house is small, just 2 bedrooms. I gutted and rebuilt the kitchen myself. The porch light runs on a timer I wired last spring. It's not a mansion, it's not a Tesla, no one's putting it on a whiteboard, but it's mine. Every nail, every wire, every dollar that paid for it is mine. If you're hearing this and you're the one your family overlooks, I won't tell you what to do, but I will tell you what I've learned. The opinions of people who don't respect you are not worth reshaping your life around. This is mine. I built it. That's enough. It's been a year since that reunion, and this is where things stand. Megan and I talk every week now. She's my person. She's halfway through her payoff plan and just moved into a smaller place she actually likes. Last month, she sent me a photo of a shelf she built herself, crooked but strong. "Runs in the family," she wrote. Derek and I are civil. He started therapy in the fall. Kelsey filed for divorce, but that's his story, not mine. He moved back to Ohio, took a quieter job at a smaller company. The last time I saw him, he was in jeans and sneakers, no vest, no Tesla, no act. He looked tired, but he looked real, and real fits him better than any title ever did. Dad and I see each other about once a month. It's not perfect. Some dinners go well, others are stiff. He still catches himself sometimes, about to compare, about to rank, about to keep score, but then he stops. He's learning. Last week, he introduced me to a friend from golf. "This is my daughter, Faith. She runs her own contracting company. No qualifiers, no excuses, no footnotes. The whiteboard is gone. He threw it away. And me? I just closed on property number 9. Marco got his journeyman license last month, and I took him out for steak to celebrate. Grace says my portfolio is ahead of schedule. Uncle Bill says I'm working too hard, which is his way of saying he's proud. My name is Faith Thompson. I'm 35 years old. I don't have a degree, but I have something better. I have my own definition of success, and no one else gets to write my story. If this reminds you of someone in your life, maybe even yourself, share it with them. Sometimes knowing someone else has walked the same road is exactly what we need to move forward. If you want more stories like this, check the description below. I've linked a few others you might connect with. And if you want to stay part of this community, subscribe and hit the bell. I read every comment, and honestly, some of your stories are even stronger than mine. Thank you for being here. I'll see you in the next one.